All right, it is 6:01 in the evening, and I am now calling this meeting of the Cultural Arts Commission to order. We do have a quorum of the commission present. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the minutes from the June 25th, 2024 meeting have been distributed. We have a quorum here tonight. Are there any corrections to the minutes? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
I Shetel Foster, motion to approve the minutes as written from June 25th, 2024 Cultural Arts and Commission meeting.
Do we have a second?
Michael Barsky, second.
Okay, it has been moved by Commissioner Foster and seconded by Commissioner Barsky that we approve the minutes as written from June 25th, 2024 Cultural Arts Commission meeting. I will now call for a vote. Please raise your hand. The motion passes unanimously. All right, new business. We have the outdoor sculpture. Do we have someone coming to present? Yes, that's you, Kim.
Good evening. I'm going to, you want to come up too? Yeah, you come on up. I'm going to give a little bit of background for the presentation, and then I'll let Nancy Murphy with Arts Alpharetta give the exhibit presentation. And I'm going to read and just pause if you have any questions at any point. The Outdoor on Loan exhibit, this is a bi-yearly exhibit that the City of Alpharetta contracts with Arts Alpharetta. And this year's exhibit is proposing a collection of 10 new sculptures with 5 replacement locations and 5 new locations. This is our largest exhibit installation to date due to the revised agreement for the Outdoor on Loan sculpture exhibit. In the past years, we had a yearly agreement budgeted at $85,000 each budget year. Arts Alpharetta and the staff recommended revising the bi-yearly agreement, budgeted at $45,000 each year, total $90,000 every 2 years. The installation and deinstallation of the sculptures on a yearly basis really couldn't be properly supported or promoted. It was, I'm adding in here, but basically we would kind of get them installed and then it was time to deinstall, like the last one, it was too quick. City of Alpharetta, Arts Alpharetta, and the Alpharetta Convention and Visitors Bureau partner on a art walk brochure that is available for locals and promotes tourism. The program supports the city's vision of promoting and supporting arts and culture through public art and the 2024 City Council priorities and the annual action plan supporting downtown Alpharetta, strategic growth and redevelopment, communications that connect, and recreation, parks, and culture. Those are basically supportive elements across the city that public art adds to. The services provided by Arts Alpharetta provide turnkey service for all aspects of the project. Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's our pleasure.
Services include all correspondence with artists, ranging from the online call for artists to rental agreements and payments, duration, installation, and deinstallation of art, and marketing. Although Arts Alpharetta is contracted for the Outdoor on Loan exhibit, the nonprofit organization spends all the funding received on the project expenditures and the turnkey service. Arts Alpharetta volunteers their time to the project to make sure Outdoor on Loan exhibit is a success. So although we contract with them, they are not being paid. They volunteer their time, and all the money goes towards the exhibit and the sculptures. The agreement is valid for a period of 2 years, with the exhibit on display for calendar years 2024 through 2026, after which the City of Alpharetta and Arts Alpharetta may discuss a 5th Outdoor on Loan exhibit for physical years 2026 and 2027. The new Outdoor on Loan exhibit is called Riff, very creative. That is a theme for, it's in conjunction with Alpharetta's Music City initiative. It represents a repeated phrase in music correct me if I'm wrong. Freestyling, an individual artistic expression, often described as freelance.
So if you think of,
Step up here.
if you think of Eric Clapton, when he gets a guitar, it's very seldom that he performs a piece as it's written. He will always kind of go off in a tangent, kind of as he is inspired. So if you think about that, we like the surprise of that, sort of the serendipitous experience of hearing an artist freelance or just go off in their own little pattern on their own. So that's kind of the inspiration behind our collection here.
Okay. So I'm going to turn this over to her. I'll stay here for support if you have questions logistically, but I'm going to turn the presentation over to her.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and thank you, Commissioners, for allowing Arts Alpharetta to be a part of this. We are grateful for this engagement, and the Board of Arts Alpharetta, we love this work. We're committed to it, and we're just very proud of our city that we can continue to do this. So you've gotten the packet of the slideshow. I won't go through the history, but just so that you know, this is the 4th installment that's done over time. So we're excited that it continues, and we'll see what the next years bring. But if you think about RIF as representing inspiration in free form, if you like acronyms, there's one you can apply. But for us, it's more about that surprise and sort of independent thought. That's what's exciting to us. So we're going to jump right into, oops, I went too far. The next one. So the first piece is called Tangent Circles. Mary Rudin is the artist from Seymour, Tennessee, and it is painted steel. You can see the specs that are listed on it. It's proposed to go in the location. Let's see if I can advance this. Oops, I went too far. There's the 10 sculptures in their locations. I skipped a slide. So we'll go on with Tangent Circles. It's going in Brook Street Park. And it is going where Hill Climb was, along Haynesbridge Road, sort of behind the library there at the entrance to the Alpha Loop. These little reflective circles, I don't believe those move. I didn't get that answer back from the artist, but they are reflective, and that's part of her description in her piece to talk about looking within yourself. So that's the first one. This next one is called Current Sequence by artist Jacob Berman. And Jacob hails from St. Joseph, Missouri. We put out a national call through a platform called Call for Entry, or CAFE, and so we get submissions from all around the nation. And we had many submissions this time around, so this was juried down to the 10 that you're going to see here tonight. This is an abstract piece. It will go in the location where Liquid Sunshine was. Sorry, the mouse, my fingers aren't touching the mouse just right. Let's see if I can get this going the right way. Okay. Sure.
Thank you, Nancy. Is this going to be up on a platform or not? I think one of the pictures showed it up
This one,
there.
if you look at the third slide shows it, and these are examples of where it has been in other places. But this is a picture of what we expect it to look like on the platform that's there, so it will not be raised. But it's only about 6 feet tall. It's not a huge location, but that particular location allows for a lot of close observation. People walk up to it, and it's right there on the path in Brook Street Park. So we thought that was a good fit.
Yeah, and the trees are kind of low there, so I think it would work
well. I don't know if you remember, but when Liquid Sunshine was installed, that particular pad was moved from its original location, which was nestled under trees, and we pulled it out into the sunshine and closer to the path so that more people could see it, because it was tucked in the shadows. But this one's out where a lot of folks can see it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So some of these sculptures I'm seeing has that base, that concrete base. Can we try to camouflage it in some way with the environment so it doesn't take away from the sculpture?
An interesting question. One of the things that Daniel Owens is our installer, and he and I have talked about that before. With this particular location, we could even mulch right up to the sculpture. That would help. But one of the things that we're looking at is potentially making a proposal that might be a surface treatment for that, something we can consider for the concrete pads. Just something to consider. Keep in mind, we're adding 5 sculptures, which means adding 5 locations and 5 pads, and so this is a big project year for us, so we'll see how all this fits into play. Yellowbird, we're excited about this piece. The artist Daniel Gialanella is from St. Petersburg, Florida. And we did ask the artist to submit some pictures on certain ones so we could kind of get a scale for how large the piece is. And these are two of the students that work with him, and they're over 6 feet tall, so he said he wanted to put them with tall people. So we dropped it in the location, also in Brook Street Park. They're at the intersection of Haynes and Academy Street. So that's going right there. Forgive us the perspective on some of these. It's not super accurate. We are dealing with photographs that we get from the artist that don't necessarily perfectly match the layout, but we try to make it as close to imaginable as possible. Ethereal Triptych by Lawrence Fear. We're very excited about this piece. One of the things that Arts Alpharetta really focused on in kind of drilling these down, we had 2 jurors help us review these for validity as quality pieces, interesting pieces, artistically, mechanically. One of our jurors was our installer, who sees pretty much every sculpture that's installed in a lot of North Georgia. So he knows a lot of these artists, he knows a lot of the pieces, and so his input was really helpful in helping us find some dynamic pieces for the same price. So we're pretty excited. This is 20 feet tall. And while it is always exciting to ask for a moving sculpture, it's very seldom that you get one in a lease program because those are generally the most expensive. But I'm going to see, oh, I don't think that would. Yeah, I think we're working this. There is a video embedded in the PowerPoint where you can see that top part actually spins and rotates around. I think we're working in the PDF here. Do you have the PowerPoint?
Would you like to see that, or?
Do you want to see the movement? Because we have to go to the PowerPoint. Yeah,
No, it's this one. I think that's.
Try that one, yeah.
No, it's this one,
okay.
I think that's the most
Yeah,
recent.
that's the most recent one.
Right here.
That one, I think. has
That
it in-
one?
This, up
This
one.
one, okay.
See if that one has it embedded. No, it's not giving us the picture. It's not going to YouTube. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
sorry.
If
that
you go to the
YouTube
slide
has-
above it, referenced YouTube.
Oh, there was?
That particular link isn't live, so what I put a new link in there. That one wasn't, YouTube wouldn't recognize it, so I put one in there, and now our program's not recognizing this one. But that just rotates around very slowly. Okay. So there, this is the artist standing next to it, and it's close to a representation of what this would look like. This one is in Thompson Street Park, where a tree was before, and it kind of sits downhill. So we think it's going to be quite visible from that location at that size. That is the only one that moves in our collection. Luminaria by Stephen Landis. This one has a great story. The artist is from Loveland, Colorado, and this particular piece has been on exhibit in Roswell for the last 2 years. But we were we did not know that when we were looking through the selection until I spoke to the artist, and he said, well, it's actually living in Roswell. You can go see it in person, which we had some members of the board who did go, and they fell in love and said we have to have it. So she's right now in storage getting a facelift while she's getting cleaned up, and hopefully maybe we'll have a chance to come and live with us for a couple of years. But she lights up, and she has her location will be a new location in Milton Avenue Park. We're hoping that she's going to kind of face that intersection of Highway 9 and Academy Street, but she'll sit kind of back just a little bit behind the fountain, but out where people can still see her. Okay? And there she is in the dark. She has light that's actually inside, but those circles are actually glass orbs that do kind of pick up sunlight and reflect and look a little bit iridescent. So you can even see there's a little power box in that particular slide. And there's a cornerstone marker back there, and there's the Hamilton. All right. Pegasus Landing. Jessica Bradshaw is coming from Greenville, North Carolina. This particular sculpture has had a delightfully storied past. She has been featured in Southern Living magazine. She has traveled around to other places, and she's large. So we're pretty excited about that. This particular sculpture will be going into Wills Park, where Ribbon Arch was. That's sort of that crossing point between the ball fields and the community center. And it's our hope to place that on a taller pedestal. That one will probably be placed on a 16-inch pedestal, a little bit higher off the ground. In this particular image that I'm looking at right now that shows the proposed image of what the sculpture would look like in the park, I have to be clear to say we grabbed this particular image from the one at night, and it looks like the sculpture's yellow, but it is a very dull brushed gold. So when we tried to grab the brushed gold image in Photoshop, you couldn't really see it very well. So we've had to use this so that it would show up against the trees for this particular picture, which only has to do with the light that's available to us at that particular moment. But I think it will still stand out and show up nicely in the park. Okay. Water Signs by Jim Weitzel. Jim is from Forest City, North Carolina. This one is also going in a new location. There's the back of it. These butterfly wings have a beautiful iridescent glow about them, and we're kind of excited about that. But it's a pretty subtle sculpture in the landscape. It's going to go along Thompson Street, and the area that you can see in the background there would be headed towards Avalon, and this is right at the hill where West Side Parkway is. There's currently a pad there, which we assume to have been set aside for benches or bike racks or whatever, but we're proposing a sculpture there. And then the bench is there just to kind of help you understand sort of the scale of that. And I believe this one is made of recycled materials, I think. No, upcycled galvanized steel. That's another thing about this particular show. There's a good number of pieces that have been doing some pretty creative things with materials. So again, part of that element of surprise. We like some of those components of the sculptures this round. This is my personal favorite. Not that that's a reason to say yes or no, but Big Sky by Nathan Pierce is an artist we've worked with in the past. He's wonderful to work with. Nathan is from Camp Girardeau, Missouri, and drives here like he's just coming from down the street. He has no hesitation coming. But look at the size of this thing. It's 15 feet by 13 feet by 9. It's very large. It's bold. And its location is going to be near the traffic circle at Haynes Bridge between Publix and as you head down Thompson Street. So I believe this is the intersection in this little corner. That intersection is where Haynes Bridge and Old Milton Parkway meet. And I've looked, and you can see it from there. So I'm excited about that. But that's going to be a lot of fun, and I think just a real dynamic piece to have in town. Nature's Theater by Paul Saviskas. And Paul is from, we've spoken several times, Inverness, Florida. And this one is unique in that it's made of some mosaic. Most of our sculptures are metal, but this one is strictly a collection of tiles and glasses, and it has some metal components and concrete. This is going in a recycled location. Bird was a sculpture by Michael Dillon that was placed between City Hall and the library on that grassy area right before you get to the formal gardens. And his sculpture did not require a pad because Michael Dillon basically made the sculpture a giant screw, and it screwed into the ground, and it was great. Well, this one is going to require a pad, but it's a pretty small sculpture, but it has a lot of visual interest to be, that people can walk up to and look at closely because of all of that tile work and detail. I'm sorry, the name was not changed. It says Jubilation. That was another sculpture we had in mind, but this is Nature's Theater. All right, Manifest by Ben Stover from Hood River, Oregon. Oregon. It's worth it for him to come to Oregon here, so I'm excited about that. Again, this is a new artist working with us this year. He's very excited to be represented on this side of the country. It's a tree, but this is proposed in a new location, and in this 2 slides that are here, that is Highway 9, where Citizen Soul is kind of up the hill, and Publix is, there's a bicycle you can see that is coming from Publix, that walkway to Publix. So we're proposing that this sculpture go right there where that intersection of the walkway from Publix is to Main Street. And right now, there's a bunch of Adirondack chairs, so it'll be a great space where people can get close to it and engage with this piece.
Nancy,
Yes, ma'am.
are these two hands shaking each other? What is it?
It's supposed to be a tree.
Oh, okay.
I don't think, it does look, this particular picture that the artist sent us looks like a hand to me.
Yeah, me
But
too.
it's a tree. He said it's not a hand. Any other questions? Okay. And then we have 3 alternates in case there's any discussion that we need to make a substitution. Positivity and negative space, 3 Moons, and Clockworks. And they are there as support should they be needed.
Hey, Nancy,
Yes.
got a question for you. Do we use permanent QR codes, or do we geotag our pieces so that people can have some sort of background on the
Oh, I'm
pieces?
glad you asked.
Well, you prompted me.
Initially, no, we did not have QR codes on a lot of our sculptures, but that's something that we've added in the last couple of years. As we have been, when Liquid Sunshine transitioned to be a permanent piece, we have started to kind of redo many of our plaques of permanent pieces to have a QR code that drives us to the walking tour, which is connected on the city's website, on the ACDB's website, on Arts Alpharetta's site. So yes, we are, and that gives us a place to put more information. The city has a wonderful link to a story map that has all the locations of all the sculptures all around town, and they are all linked by that QR code. So that's a great place where we're uploading a lot of information that wouldn't necessarily fit on that plaque that sits beside the sculpture. But the QR code will be added this year to all of them, because it's about engagement with the sculptures. Okay?
I wanted to kind of give
Sure.
a little bit of a summary here. Staff recommends that we want to pass these 10 sculptures. These 3 here are alternates. You can pass 1 or up to 10. So whatever you would like to approve this evening, they can start the installation of those, and then we can work on, see if the other replacement alternatives are available. But I wanted to let you know this isn't, you can approve them all, or you can approve 5 if you want, or 6.
So the city has the funding to approve all 10 if we loved all 10 of them?
We do.
I think you all did a good job of selecting these pieces.
Pardon me?
I think you did a good job of
you.
selecting these pieces. They are varied, they're unique, interesting, and have different materials. So I like them all.
Well, thank you.
Another question is, do we have to approve them individually, or?
You can improve the entire exhibit.
Okay.
Or if you have questions about individual pieces, we can address those too.
Okay. Does anybody have any feedback?
I do have a question, and I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the piece. It's the really large blue one that would
Big
sit at
sky.
the roundabout. I know, just putting my mom brain on, there are a lot of kids that walk that, path just because of the farmer's market and several events. And I know my little one would want to climb on it. Could you just talk about the material again, and is it safe? I mean, obviously, it's not encouraged, but.
It is a sculpture, and that's a great question, because one of the things that was recommended to us when we were talking with one of our jurors was going through it, that's one of the reasons we brought Daniel Owens on as a juror was to look at its structural presentation, because he's the one that's going to be dealing with all of these, and if they're fragile, if they're hazardous, he has an eye for that. He said, we don't ever have to worry about Nathan's work. He said, this will be sturdy, it will be rock solid, it'll have no issues. Now, it's not really designed for climbing, but should that happen, we don't feel it would be a structural hazard, it would just be a falling hazard, which it would be on a playground equipment. So that kind of engagement we would like to discourage, but as a mom, it's something that we did talk about, and so I feel like we've looked at that for all of them. This one is one that sort of seems to want to invite somebody to want to climb on it, but it is in an area, while many people do pass by, it's not in a park where people are stopping to hang around as they would be, say, in Wills Park. So we thought, well, it's a passersby, and most moms would be, come on, we're going someplace else. So anyway, that was something that we did talk about.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you have signs in front of it saying, do not climb on these
We've got that
sculptures?
embedded in the plaque. It'll say something about, please do not climb. And I don't remember what all the phrases are, but we've got a variety of different responses there. But those are all going to be included in the plaques to remind people. We hadn't talked about putting up an additional separate sign. Personally, it kind of may take away from the artistic moment that you're having there, but we do try to put some information on there. And of course, all of the links to the websites and to the story map and all those things remind people that this is for visual experience. There are some that you do climb and touch, like the labor is one where we want people to climb up in there. We work hard to maintain that so it can be a safe and climbable resource. But we try to be very clear about which ones are good for climbing and touching and which ones are not.
Yeah.
But again, we always try to look for safety. Is it going to be a hazard? Are we renting something for 2 years that we're going to have to be burdened with troubles throughout the 2 years? And so we think we've done a pretty good job of filtering out most of those issues.
So some of the sculptures are rented and some of them are going to be purchased, or all those are rental prices?
The 10 that I'm showing you are strictly in the lease program. So it is our expectation tonight that they would come and leave after 2 years. If something happens in the meantime, where we decide as an organization or as a city that we want to invest in keeping something for a longer term, that becomes a different conversation. But at this time, none of these are on the slate for purchasing at all. But
So
they
the
could
price
certainly
was
rent.
actually a rental price on the PowerPoint?
Every sculpture is leased for $6,000. They get $3,000 when they bring us the sculpture. They get $3,000 when they pick it up.
Okay.
It's a flat rate. Everybody gets the same amount. They all say, okay. And they tell us that we're not the least expensive rental. We're not the most expensive rental, but we are respectable enough that we get a large number of applicants. So that tells me that even though to me it doesn't sound like a lot of money, especially when I think about coming from Oregon, but I think for the artist perspective, they feel like it's a very good deal. So the plan is.
So the high dollars that I'm seeing on those slides are actually the value of the sculpture?
There's
Okay.
a sale price listed on the
Okay.
slides that tells
Okay.
you if somebody wanted to buy it.
Okay.
Say Mr. Barsky decides he's going to invest in a sculpture for his
Yeah.
backyard, then he knows what they cost.
Yeah, got you.
It can be yours for a small house payment.
If anyone did purchase a sculpture, they have to finish out the 2-year lease agreement. So
Okay.
just so you're aware of that, it wouldn't.
It doesn't
wouldn't
leave.
be done.
Michael cannot have it in his backyard until it's finished.
So how would the commission like to proceed
Can-
if someone feels?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
There was a lot of questions about how people are going to engage with us, and you even used the word engagement. I think one thing I'd like to suggest maybe in 2 years is looking for items that are open for climbing or touching or spinning or whatever it is. Because from my perspective, I'd like more art to be interactive and engaging rather than just for visual pleasure, because kids don't really care. And keeping kids off, is hard. So I'd like to raise a whole generation of Alpharettans that like to interact with art. But from an engagement for this particular collection, is there a plan for like an opening reception, or is there events around this and how to pull the community into those pieces?
At this time, there's not anything planned. What the next move that would happen, if the commissions would approve all of these pieces and I have permission to move forward, then I start scheduling with each individual artist when he or she can deliver their piece. The other unknown here is that we have roughly about a 2 to 3 week window where we have to pour new pads for new locations that's not been done yet. So we didn't want to pour a pad until we knew what was going there, and so that's why this evening's meeting is important. So to have some kind of an opening as a collective, we could certainly look at scheduling something that would invite people to kind of come out when they're all there, but they may come in sort of checkerboarded from over 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 weeks over time, depending upon artist availability and installer availability. The installer's kind of ready to help us at any time, but as I said, many of them are coming from far out of state. So.
And one aspect that we work with the Alpharetta Convention and Visitors Bureau and our marketing team also will launch the Art Walk brochure. And so we'll market that when the whole exhibit is installed, so that's sort of how we launch it.
All right, well, we can have further discussion, but we do need a motion on the floor. Do we want to take this one at a time or
So
all at once?
I, Shetel Foster, move to approve all the sculptures that are part of the bi-yearly outdoor on-loan sculpture program, the RIF exhibit, including the 3 sculptures that were marked as possible substitutions, the last 3?
Those were all.
Backup?
Yeah, those were
Alternate?
backups. In
Okay,
case you.
including the backup sculptures. Did I
Those
get that?
can't, actually, the budget doesn't fit to include those, so we have to do the 10, and the last 3 are options if you, say, did not want one of the
Yeah, so
sculpture.
I'm approving them as optional
I see.
sculptures.
I understand.
Yeah.
Can we see the optional ones again?
Sure. Oops, sorry.
So Positivity in a Negative Space is by Cecilia Mosley. She's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And those are not words. They are morphed or revised or edited from actual words. But in this particular case, they're all very positive words. Like you can see what looks like community or part of community. But when you get into them closely, you'll see that a letter or 2 is left out. The artist tells a story that she suffers from a disability of dyslexia and has not felt very included and is working hard to create art that invites and promotes inclusivity and acceptance regardless of the challenges. So she has a very strong personal connection to this particular collection of words that represent very positive and supportive things, but they have flaws in them, which is how she feels, how she views herself. 3 Moons is by Jody Holligan-Jabron. She is from Grimesville, North Carolina. And for her, she describes this as an opportunity to explore words, meaning, and movement. She invites the viewer to participate in a dialogue of contemplation. And in this particular case, she's got a combination between science, beauty, art, and nature. And some of those words represent things. And there's phenomenon and space and some other words that represent the sciences in there. Clockworks is by Roland Karg. And he is from Ketchy, Kansas. And in his pieces, these are all upcycled and recycled metals, but he's combined them to be repurposed for this modern design, giving it that timeless look of the innards of a clock.
Question for you. So on the alternates, if the big blue piece were unavailable and we approved these 3 pieces, would Clockworks potentially be in that space on Hansbridge Circle?
That's a great question. So just so that you know, I've confirmed with every artist that the 10 in our recommended list are available. So from the artist perspective, they're all sitting waiting for me to call them in a half an hour or an hour to say, let's start planning. But if so, for example, the commission said we don't like Big Sky, we don't think that's an appropriate piece for there, whatever the reason, then we would have some others to talk about.
And they may not go in the exact location because we want the sculpture to fit the environment, and that's a very big location. So if we go with one of the alternates, we may need to find a new location.
Yes, Diane.
It's probably along your line, Michael, that I would hesitate to add the alternates at this point. I'd
Okay.
like to revisit that if we need it. If that's- So I would amend what you
okay.
had recommended.
Say it again. Okay. I, Shetel Foster, move to approve the bi-yearly outdoor on-loan sculpture program, RIF exhibit, the 10 sculptures, and at this time, we do not approve the 3 alternates for this project.
That work? All right, before we open for discussion, I wanted to see if there is anyone from the public that has any commentary.
Madam Chair, before we go there, so she restated
Oh,
the
we need a second.
motion. We need to restate the second, please.
I will second it.
Okay. All right, so it has been moved by Commissioner Foster and seconded by Commissioner Barsky that we approve the 10 sculptures recommended by Arts Alpharetta for the RIF project. So at this time, would anyone from the public like to make any commentary? Or Morgan, anyone? We're just not used to having such a large audience, so. What do you?
And ma'am, if you would, before you begin your comments, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, Diane Greco, 310 Banbury Crossing. And I looked at the art before, and I'm totally supportive of it. I loved all of it, so I was just here to show some support.
Okay, thank you for coming out. All right, is there any discussion amongst the commissioners?
Yeah, I have just a clarification. The very tall one, which I just love, and I think the location that you picked, because if I recall, one of the reasons the commission came about was because of an extremely large piece in the first place. So I assume that Daniel has assured us that it's going to be really secure and everybody is on board with it. So I just wanted to touch base on that.
Daniel has taken a look at every location.
Okay.
As I said, and this particular artist is one with which he's familiar, not this particular sculpture, but he's familiar with Lawrence Spear's work and has engaged with him as an artist before installing other pieces, and he felt like it was, again, a very solid piece, very dependable, highly recommended. Michael Dillon was our other juror in this case, who is a local sculptor who's done many pieces in our city and around, and he looked at it again, from his perspective as a metalworking artist. That was one that was pretty consistent. It was interesting to see which ones they both were like absolutely yes, and each of them had specific input about several of them, but they both felt very confident it was going to be a good fit.
It looks like wherever you located it, it won't have that much accessibility. It's just, which I think is really good.
And as a mom, when I look at that location on Thompson Street, I don't walk down to sculptures there because I can see myself going straight to the cattails into the little pond that's there. I don't see myself as having good breaks. But it's a pretty steep slope, so I don't see it as a place where people generally go down to, but it's large enough, has scale enough that people can still see it and enjoy it. And the moving part, it's kind of like you get an opportunity to be up in the trees because it sits down low, but you're kind of up higher on the walkway, and you get a little bit closer to that movement. And the top of it has quite a lot of scale to that too. So it's not a tiny piece. It's got a lot of volume as well. So I'm excited to see it in this place, if it comes here.
Any other discussion? Okay, are we ready to take a vote? All in favor of approving the 10 sculptures for the roof project, please raise your hand. All right, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let her rip.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for all of your work, Nancy, on this. All right. Staff presentation? You haven't been up here enough, Kim. We need more of you.
I was excited that I thought we were done for the night, just about. They're passing along our new fall-winter guide, and we love the cover. Dave designed that. He didn't paint it. We actually usually take artwork and we get permission from the artist, and we acknowledge them inside the front cover. But take a look. There's a lot of wonderful classes. I wanted you to know that we take advantage of all the school holidays now. We try to have classes available when parents are at work and they can bring their kids to school, to the camp. Our summer, all these are photos from camps during the summer. We had an amazing, we had camps at Preston Ridge, we had full-day camps at the Arts Center, we had half-day camps, we had sewing camps, we had acting camps, we had music camps. It was, introductory classes, because there's some kids that are shy about art. I just feel like this was our best camp summer ever. I mean, it was really amazing. And we had camps at the log cabin, utilizing that space. So it was our largest camp. We make a lot of revenue during camp season too, so it helps with that. And lots of smiling faces and lots of art. So, Waters Road Park crosswalk. I don't know if you've seen this, but we actually completed this about 3 weeks ago. This was a very large crosswalk when the artist agreed to do it, and you can see the top left corner to scale. It was a little larger than she first thought. So we actually asked for help from Alpharetta High School, and I'm going to embarrass her, but Amy with the Alpharetta National Art Honor Society brought out, I think there were 3 volunteers, was that, or 2? 6 or 7, okay. So she had, in the heat, the artist had been working very, I mean, it was just, she was trying to work morning and nights, and then she called on the group, and they came in and helped her finish out and paint the rest of it. It's amazing. One thing that's nice about this is, I don't know if you drive up Waters Road, the park is up on a hill, so it really signifies that the park is there. It's a really neat crosswalk. And thank you for helping too. Our upcoming, we have an eclectic lawn. We moved this a little bit further. I don't know if you remember, we did summer series, but we moved it a little bit into September this year. Cedar Hill, they played on August 9th, and we have another concert coming up the second week in September. Layers is our current reception. Current exhibit. We had the reception August 10th, and I believe Nancy said we had about 200? 140 artworks, but how many people attended the reception?
Oh, at the reception, we had about 220.
And that's pretty consistent, I believe, for most of our receptions. Wouldn't you say we have about that same number?
It's a packed house.
Yes.
It was a wonderful event.
And coming up, we have magical music of Harry Potter with the Alpharetta Symphony. And Act 1 has Blythe Spirit, a show, so please get out and see that. And that will be at the Alpharetta Presbyterian Church. And we have the Chattahoochee Evening Stars coming up. The Quilt Guild will be doing at the Adult Activity Center. And that's it for the report. Any questions? Or?
Yeah, Kim, can we get an update on the master plan progression, how that timeline's working, how the survey's coming out?
Right now, they have a survey open that we've been promoting through social media, and it's open through this Friday, the 30th. And when they get all of that content, they're going to put that together for us, and we're going to start the next phase. Right now, we're just finishing up the survey phase.
Thank you for that. Thank you for a successful summer.
Unless I missed it at another meeting, updates on what was happening with North Point Mall and the theater there?
Right. We actually just had the architect plans approved. Actually, I'm sorry, it's with North Point. They have just approved it, so now we're submitting it, and we can make some actual progress. So our hope is to have the actual opening end of January, February. Don't hold us to it, but that's where we're shooting. We're going to kind of skip over December and launch for the beginning of next year.
Any other questions for Kim? No? All right. Morgan, do you have anything to add? All right.
Actually, I have one more question. Is there any new arts organization, any new group, anything that added programs that joined the network in the last 6 months or so that we should be aware of?
Are you asking about new organizations? Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But we would welcome, I mean, if there are, I would love to meet with them.
All right. Do any of the commissioners have any reports or things to share? No? We have asked for public comment. Are there public comments on any other arts topics in the city? All right. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second? Second that. Okay, it has been moved by Commissioner Smeal and seconded by Commissioner Genet that we adjourn the meeting. I will call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, the motion passes unanimously. The meeting has been adjourned at 6:46 PM. So thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a great rest of your week.